Just a second, please.
Yes.
So, normally I have my second screen not the back of me, and so it's a little bit difficult. Sorry. So that looks better. Lutz just said it might tomorrow get a bit nerdy. I think our talk today will also get a bit nerdy. We are both from the web industry originally, so we got into the VR photography just a few years ago, and while doing web stuff, we were getting into the field of Google services and Google Maps API, and doing photography and doing web stuff, there was always the idea to do something that mixes the worlds together. And I think I'm speaking for all of us when you visit stunning places, when you are doing photography in 360 panoramas. Sometimes there are places that are stunning and that need a special treatment. And you see on the mountainside, we were wondering if you could do experience like you have with Google Street View in the cities, the urban area, if you could do something like that in the mountainside. And so we are both from Germany, and we wondered, can we do a tour atop of mountain? And the tallest mountain in Germany is Zugspitze. And so there's only one problem. The most scenic route to the Zugspitze is 10 kilometers in length. It's more or less 2,000 meters in height difference, very challenging terrain. So you have a gorge where water's falling. You have a big mountain area, and you have a glacier, and obviously you have climbing via ferrata to the summit. So we wondered if this would be possible, but obviously that would be a lot of work. But in the end, we wanted to do it, and we couldn't get it out of our mind, so yeah, we just did it.
I might add, it was his idea, and because he's living in Munich and I'm in Hamburg, we're kind of from southwest Germany, and I'm in the flatland in Hamburg. I was excited to go to the mountainside and do it, but of course, we wanted it to be great. We wanted to be, the mountainside is lots of nature, and nature doesn't have to have a frame, so we wanted to be immersive. We wanted it to have on full screen, let's say, and the numbers he just presented said we had lots of panoramas if we want to do the whole hike. And in the end, it was almost 1,000 panoramas up the summit, and which is quite crazy. Also, we wanted to have a custom design, so we wanted it to not be in some sort of third-party software. We wanted to have our own website. So how can you achieve this? As Phil mentioned, we were both in the web industry. I'm pretty familiar since a few months or years with the Google Maps API. So I was familiar with Street View already in this API. So what we used is the Google Maps platform. First of all, for traffic and performance. it was a big advantage for us to make Google host the imagery, so we don't have the traffic. Then, of course, the performance. Google is worldwide, so they split imagery on different data centers, and we also have this advantage. The other thing is we use the API for making the imagery visible on the website. And also, the third advantage is visibility. Not only on our website, imagery is visible, but also on Google Maps, Google Earth. So we thought our requirements are probably also yours. Lots of photographers out there that do a lot of great photography, but how do you bring it online? How do you make your tour online with your own design and your own UI? So let's build a tour.
Yeah. Just to add, obviously there are other tools that provide you with what you see is what you get, toolkits that you just can use and put on your own server. But if you imagine to use the infrastructure from a provider like Google, it's sometimes much more faster, and you are not bound to a tool. You don't have the toolkit that you can use just without coding experience, but on the other hand, if you have the full the control over how you build the front end, then you have much more possibilities and opportunities. So to use Google services at first, obviously you have to get your images into the platform. And for now, there were, all of you know, there were several ways in the last month or years. The actual ways are the Street View app or the third-party services that use the Google Maps Publish API. And inside that services or the app, you can link the panoramas, and you can do a tour as you always did, so that the tour is online on Google Maps and users can view the tour, but the tour isn't on your side at that moment. So instead of just taking an iframe, embedding an iframe, and have all the default UI of the iframe, you, if you use some code, you can embed it the way you want it on your site. To access your specific panoramas, one way is just to copy. Each panorama has a panorama ID, and if you copy that panorama ID, one way is to get it from the address bar. There are other ways, but for the sake of simplicity, we just want to highlight that way. If you write just that ID of that panorama, of the first panorama of the starting point you want to your tour, then you're all set for the first moment. So next, I said it would be get nerdy. Next, we want to show you how a quick glimpse on how to code an actual example. So don't get afraid of the code. To use that code, obviously you should have at least beginner knowledge of HTML and CSS. What you see is a quick framework, a quick HTML setup with a style that so we want the panorama full screen, 100%, and aside that we call the Google Maps API, and we have to authorize ourselves with a specific key just to tell the API which user accesses it. So, and aside that container pano in the first line, that's the placeholder for our panorama that we want to have in our page. And beneath that, we add a few options to that panorama object. And there is also that ID we copied from the address bar, and a few other configuration options. One of it is disable default UI, so that we can be immersive, and so that we have so less as possible of default elements we don't want to have in our example. So just with that quick setup, we're able to so I just have to duplicate the screen. It's easier. Sorry. So for now, you have just a panorama inside your page. The links are working because of the constellation you already did, and you know perhaps from your usage of the platform. We can look around, we can walk around, but the next thing we want to do, just let it load a little bit. That example, what we are seeing is a tour inside a forest experience center, and there are a little amount of panoramas, but the user has an idea what's inside that constellation, and that's what I want to show you next. So if you just expand that example a little bit more, we can add some labels for the scenes we want to show the user. So that's also a little HTML, quite simple HTML fragment. It's a list with the names. And so just the names won't help us with controlling the API. We need, for each of that scene, we must define also the ID of that panorama. And if we want to, also some other parameters like heading, in which direction initially the scene is looking, which pitch, up and down, and lat and long are the coordinates for later use. So if we add those metadata to all of the scenes, then we can next loop via JS, loop through that list of items and attach all the metadata that we defined to the Google Maps API. And just to go back to the demo, that's that example. So you see in the lower left corner, we now have a navigation, and we can jump to the next scene without actually navigating to it. And that way we can jump between scenes, and the metadata that we defined already is attached to that scene, so we can look into a specific angle.
So yeah, what we've just seen was just a small navigation. We have so far no idea where we are in a geography context. So what we want to do now is use the API as well to add a little small map. You probably have seen this in other Street View projects, that they add a little small map in the corner to showcase where probably the markers are. For that, we use this object, and we also add markers. We run a little bit short on time, I see down there, but so we use the same list items Phil just presented for adding those markers. Phil just said that they have the lat long and all that metadata we use. So we have a specific icon here, and we add another loop through these items to add those markers to the map itself. And then we add list click handlers for more or less the same action that the navigation in the left box is doing, the markers in the map should do also. So as a small demo, this looks like this. Down there on the left side, on the right side, we have a little map, and it's the same points we have on the left side showing up as markers here, and if I click them, it has the same functionality as the navigation, right? So for the next step, what we actually see in this demo is if we move between places, the map is doing nothing, right? It just stays there. So for the next thing, we want to change it to center the position, so we are more aware where we are. For that, we add another listener as soon as the panorama is changed, which happens either if I click the marker or if I click the navigation. There is a new panorama. We want to center the map on the new location. And this is done like this. So if I click a new item, you see the map has changed. And if I click some different marker down there, also the map centers at this position. Even further thinking, there might be the idea to kind of visually enhance that position, because centering the map, well, should be better, right? So for that, we add another marker, which is actually our ID locator, kind of a different marker with a different style. And we also, for the listener we just added before, we just added this line to set the position, this new marker we just created, to go at this position. So this looks like this. You see down there on the right, the current position is kind of this different marker. And we also added a highlighting on the left side in the navigation. So every time we change the position, you have this red highlighting on the left side. And you see on the right in the map, actually our current position is highlighted with this new marker. Yeah, that was happening here. I missed that, sorry. And then there's even some advanced stuff going on. Oops. So far you see where you are in the map. The location where you are is highlighted, but you don't have any clue where you're looking at, right? So for that, there's even a more enhanced example how you could do that with even a third marker that has kind of like an arc-like field of view attached to it. That's SVG, it's like a vector object. And if we add that to a different listener of the panorama object that is triggered as soon as we change the view in the panorama, we can take these values from the listener and add it to this new marker. So you see down there, there's this arc-shaped like new object, and as soon as I go and turn my view, it's also turning its view. So every time you know where you're looking at. And if you go to a new place, with those default values we gave in the beginning, you have different default views. So you see, now you're looking to northwest, and with this you're looking more or less to the south. And every time you move inside, it updates its position. Like that. And if you go with the constellation, it more or less travels with you, right? So that's that. And that was just a small example showcasing what we did with our own project, which is Zugspitze 360. And we're now showing you how this sort of stuff in this simple form is implemented in our platform.
Yeah. I'll just start with just a few words to the platform itself. In that project, you see we wanted to give the user an impression of that hike atop the mountain. We wanted it to be immersive, like said before, and we wanted that the user has the ability to step inside the tour at that point that he likes, and that he can do both things at one point, at one time. That he can just click each meter of the route of the 10 kilometers atop a mountain if he likes to, but also that he can jump fast forward like we saw in the example just before. And if we step into the route, into the experience at the valley, it's it looks like this, just a forest trail. And because we wanted to do immersive, we had all the controls so unobtrusive as possible. So merely invisible, there is an interactive navigation where you can choose which next stop you want to do. You can even step ahead further to the summit. Or you could just click step by step, like you know it from the normal experience. At the bottom right, you see there's a mini map, also like in the example, where you see where you are and what's the next. How's the landscape is changing in the next meters. And so talking about the platform itself, it's at some point it's quite interesting because the landscape is changing so much on that tour. It's at the start it's just a wooden trail. Later it goes through a gorge. So that was very difficult to shoot at because inside the gorge, even if it's rainy, just a few hours before, it was a massive pain to shoot that because everywhere was water. And but it's quite interesting for the user to experience that in all directions. So he can have the impression like he's visiting that hike himself and go atop the mountain through that experience. I just fast forward a little bit. That's an impression of the mid stage. There's also a hut, mountain hut, where you can have a rest, where you can stay overnight for the next day. So we have the Wi-Fi just has a little bit to wait. So. But stepping first forward, you also see very steep passages, steep legs, like something like that. And at that point, it was important to have a 360-degree panorama also at the bottom because you can't blur the bottom, the floor, if you look down at a point like this. So also this one is quite interesting, because you are just walking over iron bars, and there's nothing in between you and the abyss. And so after that, it is much more calm. It's a passage named Grüner Buckel, like green hump, and it's as steep as here, but you don't have that extreme temperature and so. But after that, it gets extreme even more. So there's a glacier. It's very so that view isn't rotated and in anything. So it's like that steep, and what we wanted with the project was also to have the people that are going atop that mountain, and that are many people because it's a quite easy hike, easy in a way. Many people are not equipped like they should, because if you go with sneakers, that steep glacier, you, one slipped, you go 100 or 50 meters at least deep down, and that's very dangerous. And we wanted with the project also not also showcase how interesting that place is, also to provide some help for those people who go atop that mountain, so that they know what is to expect. So, and after glacier, it's getting a little bit vertical, but you have a very nice view. So it goes down there, and we can jump over the navigation to the.
Wir stoßen jetzt von der Irmerscharten rauf bis zu.
Sorry, but that's a good point. I thought I had turned off the sound because I didn't expect that. But what you see is another feature of the tour. We did interview some local experts on that know the valley very good. So to give the user another layer of information. So it's like a personal personal hike guide that says something to that scenery you see with your eyes, also via audio. Unfortunately, it's only available in German because we had no translator for Bavarian mountain guides, you know. So, besides that, there's also some non-panoramic information. So there's none for people who want to read about on a couch or something. You can experience the project that way, also with some image galleries. And as I said before, it's also we wanted to have some tips for that people who want to do that route, so they are prepared as good as it's possible, so that they don't get into that trouble that sometimes people get. So
we're more or less out of time, I guess. There's just one thing left, more or less. What did we learn today? I guess use the platform, use the tools that are out there. You don't have to reinvent everything. Second, learn some code. I don't know how many of you have experience with code, but as you might have seen, it's not that difficult actually, and the tools are out there, the documentation is very good, and what we want to do, people, do create. I mean, you are creators, do more with your stuff. And with that, we want to finish. You can find us here. For any questions, I don't think we have any time left. Maybe you just email us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
We have some time for questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I see Dave over here threw his hand up.
Hi there. Thanks very much for that. I thought it was really interesting. I was just quite kind of interested for such long routes. Have you analysed what people are clicking on? Are they just clicking on the featured spots, or are people, spending 5 minutes and actually walking through like stretches of this type of route?
I think I get to that. Mostly, and obviously, they are using the navigation at the left of the screen, and so it's also we have hundreds, exactly more than 900 panoramas, not everyone is clicking every panorama. So the peaks are at the extreme situations, like summit and like the Via Ferrata atop the summit, and every panorama that is listed at that in that navigation. But we had that vision that we also want to give the possibility to experience the whole route atop the mountain yourself. So the numbers of people who actually are clicking through that whole constellation is the minority, but that was the vision of the project.
I might add, we had great press coverage when we launched last year, and there's a great audience that we never expected. That's old people, and they wrote us like, I've been up the mountains 30 years ago multiple times, and now my knees are broken and I can't go anymore, and I clicked through every panorama up to the summit.
Can I ask, can you do spherical coordinates stuff like hotspots or something with that?
For now, the Maps API doesn't allow that. We had that in mind, but as you see, there's lots of information going on the different pages, and we thought for this case, the time kind of was limited. We already invested lots of time in this project, and for that experience, we thought we leave it out, because we thought we wanted the experience to be fully immersive, to see the nature, and don't overlay it with too much information.
And adding to that, via the audio snippets that you can hear, it's like in the reality, there is also no pinpoint at the mountain, but the guide can hint you and say, okay, that's this mountain, and that's that well, and so on.
And the second question is, do you shoot with DSLR step by step?
Yeah, that's a big question. I just go over to the making of. That's there you see we actually used DSLR.
We don't see it.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So now you see it. At the moment we were planning, there were many, not so many technical options like today, but there were also GoPro rigs, and there were just like that.
No, wait a second. Okay.
There were GoPro rigs, there were obviously also the Theta, but we wanted, we decided to, when we put that amount of work into the project, we wanted to have perfect control over each scene. And so we chose a traditional approach and just used 2 cameras and that one with a fisheye. And yeah, that also happened. Yeah. But in the end, it was just DSLR and 4 shots, or more 12 shots at each of that 900. Yeah.
Okay, I also have a question. I thought about if it's possible to integrate this with VR, so we can also view it in virtual reality. Is there any chance that the API supports that, or any future plans that Google has told you about, or something like that?
No way, Zephyr?
So you could, I'll just talk loud. No, I'm supposed to wait. So I don't think that there are any plans right now for the Maps API specifically, but since you're hosting it on Street View, you could use the Street View app with Daydream to view it in the Street View app in VR.
That's
So
right.
that's another benefit of the cross-posting and using Google to host, but then building all of this custom stuff on your own site. We really like this example. This is one of our favorite Street View integrations.
Thanks.
But for sure, we would also like if the guys at Google integrated it into the API.
I saw that you used audio for some narration. Is it possible to use audio throughout, whether it's for scene specific, so spatial audio for each scene, but also to have some form of either narration or other soundtrack running throughout, independent of the scene changes? So you could use it as a narration, as you would for, say, a documentary.
For now, we use just a library called Howler.js, which is a basic web audio API. I don't think it supports spatial audio, and I might be wrong, but we haven't figured it out. I mean, for this showcase, there wasn't any audio we recorded on the field, so it wasn't really necessary to have any spatial.
Do you know if it's possible to have audio running throughout the whole scene, independent throughout the whole thing?
We don't do that for the project, but yeah, it's possible.
The audio right now is not attached to a specific panorama, so it's 2 layers. And that's also the advantage of doing those stuff on your site, on your page, with some code from the API. Then you can build layers which are unattached to each other.
Hi. How automated was your post-processing workflow, and what were some of the pain points of that? What kind of equipment did you wish that you had that didn't exist at the time?
So originally, I think that's my problem. Originally, I thought the most effort we put it into the project is the shooting on stage, on site, and it quickly evolved to that we had more double or triple of the time in post-processing. And also, like the setup of the equipment, we had a quite traditional setup. We used PT GUI, anywhere in the, yeah. And because of the 4 shots on a tripod, we could use the batch stitching tools quite good. And so it was the stitching of the photos wasn't the problem, but the retouching of the nadir, the fixing of lens flares and stuff like that, that was a big problem and very time consuming, and especially if any one of you are was shooting in a steep landscape like this, the GPS coordinates aren't very accurate. So we had to reposition the panoramas and the heading many times, and was quite fiddling to get it exactly so that every panorama is looking at the right direction. And so that's what was very time consuming, but at least it wasn't such sweaty like staying on the mountain, so you could do it at home. And regarding equipment, computing power, it was quite pragmatic. So we did it on 2 machines, like one was a laptop, one was a desktop computer, but not very sophisticated setup because it was a project that we that hadn't a big budget, so we wouldn't invest in that.
Have any other parks reached out to you to do similar things with their trails? And if so, have they offered to pay you for it?
We were in talks with one of our sponsors, yeah. Phil mentioned that there was not a lot of money, but we had actually some guys, and it's a climbing school, and they wanted to do the same at a different mountain, but they kind of underestimated the effort. So we were in talks, but they thought it would be like a Sunday afternoon or something. But we're open to any. Thanks. Thanks so much for having us.
What's the interval you've been using? 1 meter or more than that? Or how much? I mean, I've been seeing this. It's really, really amazing, you know?
It's depending of the...
So you've got 10 minutes, and if it runs out and you're still talking, it's not the end of the world.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Servus, everybody. Wie schauen wir aus? So, those of you who speak German, they notice I'm a local guy from Vienna, and my company Indicam is from Vienna also. So we're very happy to have you all here. And for all of you that are still here, I'm also very happy that you are still here, because it's the last talk, and I appreciate your presence very much. Also, one thing, I have the honor to use Florian's brand new MacBook Pro on this presentation, because mine broke down. So I hope I'm going to manage this machine from the future, but if there's a glitch, please excuse. So, I'm going to take you on a short trip to something completely different. As you know, we are manufacturing cameras, also VR cameras. And although my talk is hopefully not a specific sales talk, that I hope you will appreciate, we nevertheless are selling these cameras and we're showing them in the marketplace. So if you get a chance, drop by and we can show you everything in detail. We have started actually quite a long time ago, with manufacturing cameras for a different field, not for panoramic and VR, but for film production. And I want to show you a little bit of this background so that you can understand what's inside our latest VR models. So we're going back in time. What is Indicam doing? Well, basically we build great little cameras. And there is a specific reason, although there are also big drawbacks, because you don't have great big equipment to show off with when you have little cameras. But optically and from the workflow on set, little cameras have lots of benefits for special applications. This is a camera that has been in use from us for the last 5 years. It has been replaced by another camera that we are showing downstairs. I'm introducing this camera because I'm presenting a project in a second that it was used extensively on. And the big benefits and the unique points of the camera were it was the first very small global shutter camera. You don't see it, so the size here you will later, but it's only like this size. It outputs RAW images, 10 and 12-bit RAW in 2K, and everything through an HDSDI connection. I don't know if you're familiar with this connection. It's a coax cable, which is widely used in television broadcasts and also in film production, because it's a single cable connection that's lockable and it can run for hundreds of meters. So this was integrated in a very tiny package and used on feature films for shots that are otherwise hard to get or very expensive to get. It was used, for instance, and that's the project I'm going to show you, on a film called Rush by Ron Howard. There's also an Austrian guy in that movie. That's why it fits very well here, Niki Lauda. And they shot a Formula One movie about the rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. And the DOP, Anthony Mantle, he came to me and he said he wanted to bring these cars really to life in the movie. You know, because at the time there were not so perfectionist cars like today, but they were real beasts and, endangering the lives of the drivers. And to do that, he needed my cameras. And just to get you into the mood, I'm going to show you the trailer.
The closer you are to death, the more alive you feel.
You're James, aren't you?
Yes.
Who's that?
It's Niki Lauda. He's just been signed by Ferrari.
He's a nobody.
Look at the way he's driving, like an old man.
Right now, with zero incentive, why would I drive fast?
Because I'm asking you to.
This is an incredible battle between these two great drivers.
Next time, I'll have you.
No chance. You're just a party guy. It's where everybody likes you.
Yes, I know, I'm terrible.
No, you're not terrible. You're just who you are at this point in your life.
To be a champion, it takes more than just being quick. You have to really believe it.
I've been waiting for this my whole life.
I can beat this guy, trust me.
He's consistent, dependable.
Will he put his life on the line the day that really matters?
Welcome to the racing grudge match of the decade.
World champion Niki Lauda, trapped in a searing inferno of 800 plus degrees.
Talk to me, James.
Don't go to men who are willing to kill themselves driving in circles looking for normality.
And what did your wife say when she saw your face? She said, you don't need a face to drive, you just need the right foot.
I feel responsible for what happened.
Watching you win those races, while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
More powerful than the fear of death is the will to win.
Yeah, okay. So I picked the long trailer, I'm sorry, but I hope you liked it. Anyway, so you won't believe it, maybe you believe it or not, but it was an indie production for Hollywood standards, like it had only 40 million budget or so, which was mainly financed also by Ron Howard and his company themselves. So they had to actually look for good solutions to save money, creating these action shots. And that's how they did it. Like, this is one of the positions how they mounted our cameras. They are very lightweight, and so you see a position here in front and in the back. And that was also a strategy during the production, that they rigged the cars on several positions. And with one round of the driver, you get 4 or 5 shots for editing, which saves you a lot of time, and time is money, of course, in a film production. One of a very famous shot was a shot of the eye, where the reflections are, you know, seen of the drivers driving, and this is Chris Hemsworth. They actually mounted the lenses, cameras into the helmet, so they could actually shoot it. It's not green screen or CG, it's actually shot live with our camera. Yeah, here you see Ron Howard on the right and Anthony Lord Mantle, both Academy Award winners, of course, setting up the shots, and they put a lot of effort into you know, staging these shots. Yeah, on the right, I put this picture in for all the Austrians and Germans, because actually the actor portraying Niki Lauda, he's a German. And that was probably the hardest bit for Austrians to swallow, that a German actor can impersonate an Austrian guy so perfectly. It was amazing, even the accent, really, and the moody character. So, yeah. This is one shot that is special also, because I told you it's global shutter, our cameras. And you can do a lot of crazy stuff with it, because you don't have to deal with jello rolling shutter effects. And that's actually how they, one key issue when they mounted the cameras on the cars, they actually, they worked with what everybody else is usually trying to avoid, the shakiness. Because the shakier it is, or if the shakiness is really right, then the car looks like 100 miles faster instantly, you know. If it's not shaky, it's boring. It's like sports TV. If it's shaky, then it looks very fast. So they built all these custom adventurous rigs that look pretty amateurish, but the sense of all these mechanical apparatuses is to really get the shakiness right. And no other camera was out there that could be used in such a way except ours. Yeah, a simple solution to shield it from rain. And then they had also some other, not only action shots, but they actually placed it everywhere on the set to shoot B-roll scenes. And the only guys who didn't like our cameras were the editors and the assistant editors, because they said there's like hours and hours of IndyCam footage that they have to go through to find these, like, I don't know, 20 seconds or so of greatness. So they created a lot of material with our cameras. I'm racing a little bit ahead. Maybe you can turn down the sound a little bit, because these are just, you saw in the trailer, there were a lot of shots from our cameras in the trailer already, and here's now a best-of of shots from our camera. You see the shakiness, the positions that you use. Here's the drill shot inside. Like everything done on a sensible budget and in short time. This is, you know, in the helmet shot. Okay, this is also Niki Lauda after his accident putting on the helmet. It was a real life shot, yeah. Okay, so let's, and this is the dollying shot. I showed you the setup from in the back of the car when the camera's dollying around. So you might say, this is all great and looks fantastic, but what does it have to do with us? Here's some, you know, I cannot show off with small cameras because they're so small, but with the projects we have. So we had Angelina Jolie shooting with it in Cambodia last year. We had it in the heart of the sea, underwater systems. We also have regular European productions, like this is an Austrian production, Teknama Holec, yeah, and many more. But with these great little cameras, you can also build really nice panoramic rigs that are live capable and also raw capable. I'm going to show you some of the rigs that have been built in the last years with our cameras. This was one of the first ones. It's an 8-camera setup, a mirror-based rig, which was built and used for a national park visitor center in Austria, the Nationalpark Hohe Tauern, Alpine Park. And yeah, they shot, it was built for a production that lasted 1 year, and the film produced is only 15 minutes, but it's shown every day, like, I don't know, 20 times. They built a dedicated panoramic cinema for it in the visitor center, and it's shown constantly every day. So they took it up to the highest mountains. You see on the left, they put it on cranes and went into glacier cracks. How do you say that? Glacier cracks. This is the cinema they built especially for it, and the idea behind it, of course, is to give the visitors that are not able to visit or to hike up the mountains, like the Zugspitze. It's not the Zugspitze here, but similar mountains, to give that experience in an immersive panoramic video. Cinema. No, it's not cinema. It's not a video. It's really a cinema experience. Then the next camera that took that same concept to another level is the Fraunhofer Omnicam that some of you might know. It's also a mirror-based rig. They have now just released 2 new versions at this year's NAB, also with our latest cameras inside. One is a spherical camera, where they, you know, because mirror rigs are usually cylindrical, and they added cameras on the top, so it's now cylindrical, and they also showed a 3D version, which renders really, really, really nice stereoscopic virtual reality, because you can get much closer with the cameras if you shoot through a mirror than if you put them side to side. Yeah, one great aspect of these rigs is also that you always have a live feed. You can always look at what you're recording. And in the case of Fraunhofer, they have an incredible machine which is called the real-time stitching engine. It's a PC-based system where they stitch the whole stuff in real time, and they can stream it to headsets and so on. So it's one of the highest end live rigs out there at the moment. Yeah, it's used in Germany and in Europe a lot. For instance, this is like Herbert Grönemeyer concert, that's RTL, it's a big German TV station, that's Berlin Philharmonics, Porsche exhibition grand presentation of their new car. So yeah, it's in that region that these are used, and as I said, we provide the optics and the cameras inside and the control of the cameras. and the image processing and stitching is done by Fraunhofer. This is the replacement of the Rush camera. Our current version, it's even smaller. It's 30 by 30 by 60 millimeters, so it's a really little cube or a dice. It has a brand new global shutter sensor, which is much better than the last one, with over 12 stops dynamic range. And one of the most important aspects probably is it has dropped in price to a third of the predecessor. Yeah, there's lots of technical details. But as I said, we're down at the marketplace, and you're welcome every time, tomorrow and the day after, and I can go through all the technical specs with you, if you wish. So we have a dedicated virtual reality camera, of course, as well, and it doesn't have these modules that I showed before you inside, but a custom and dedicated electronics and sensor electronics. But it adopts all what we've learned in the past from film productions and from selection of sensors and raw recording, etc., into a tiny, even smaller package. The sensors are really back to back. These are square sensors, so they're not 16 by 9, but really 1 by 1 aspect ratio. They're also global shutter, and they're fully synchronized inside. So we also hand over the synchronization to post-production, and that all the files have time code from the camera. So when you're editing it or post-producing it, you always have the corresponding time codes. The sensors also have 12 stops dynamic range, which is really, really good for such a system. And as I said, it has lots of metadata integrated. It's all the information like shutter, ISO, we even have GPS, etc. It's all stored in the Cinema DNG header. So for people that can use and want to use it in post-production, they can actually work with these metadata. The lenses are really close together as the sensors are back-to-back, so it makes stitching very easy. Of course, there is still some parallax, but it's minimal parallax. And if you have to do tricks with, in stitching, it's pretty straightforward. It's much, much, much easier than 90% of all the other cameras that are out there. And also you only have one stitching line. So you only have to do it between two images and not 6 or 8 or whatever. Yeah, the raw workflow is maybe not so common in VR, general VR post-production, or at a certain level. At another level it is very common. But it gives you the possibility to, when you have a project, to actually go over the project in a professional way and do a full color grading, compositing, like all the tricks that you would do in a feature film or commercial or high-end corporate production, you can do here as well. And I think that's really important because to the consumer and end user, image quality does matter, and one should take every step to get the most out of your production. Yeah, this is a brief, it's very blurry, I'm sorry, but we have it down there so I can show you the interface. This slide is here to show you that you have a live preview all the time through HDMI and Wi-Fi. The entire system is controlled with an iPad remote control. You can do all the settings manual. You have a playback also, so you can review your shots live. That's the idea of this production. There's some production shots when it was used on set. Like there's one, this is a production in Milano actually. It was used on a special VR dolly that some of you might know, the Mantis from UK. It's fantastic, it's really great. And this tiny little ball on top, that's the camera. So all the rest is support. And yeah, it was used in an office and in one of the most famous libraries in Milan. Yeah. Then we have another production, which we also can show you down there, and that's maybe also very interesting for you. It's an immersive art experience of the Museum of Art History in Vienna, which we produced for the Austrian Agency for Tourism and the museum itself. And it's actually a 360-degree video with movement and also with interactivity. So within its interactive storytelling with several actors, and we shot with over 50 extras. And in the video, you have hotspots that you can focus on in the HTC Vive or Samsung Gear VR. And then you can change the line of storytelling, or you can also invoke information windows that hover over the pieces of art, like over a painting from Rubens, for instance. And there is voices, speakers that tell you details about these pieces of art. We have this setup of this production ready to be replicated for other projects also. We have partners here in Vienna that we did this together with. And it's like a template for future projects, for interactive VR video. So last thing, I'm good in time. One thing, you know, in the title, there was also something about HDRI, and maybe you've guessed where is the HDRI in this presentation. That's something I cannot tell you too much about it, but we have a project together with a company called Animal Logic in Australia, which is a global VFX company, and they approached us. They said, hey, you have a great VR raw camera. Can we use it to shoot bracketing sequences, you know, because we need them for light probes in CG animation. Maybe you're familiar with that. When you shoot a virtual rabbit hopping around in a real field of grass, then you need the same lighting situations for the rabbit like you had in the real shot. And to do that, you shoot HDRI sequences that are combined and then used as lighting setups actually in the animation programs. And traditionally, they're made like you do with DSLR and brackets and so on, and the entire process takes 10 minutes or so. And you have the entire crew in the back of your neck waiting that you get out of the shot again so that the actors and everybody else can shoot. So every second counts and is also money. And what took them before 10 minutes now takes them 10 seconds. So with our naked eye camera, you can shoot HDRI brackets, also sequential, automated with full GPS support. And they have developed a special post-production pipeline to integrate that into their post-production chain, which makes the process also much, much quicker. And they're going crazy with that system now. When they shot before, they shot something like 20 light probes a day, and now they're shooting 70. So they appreciate it very much. This is the end of my talk. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy your evening. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
The question is how much?
Sorry?
Pricing.
Pricing? The tiny little camera, that's 2,380 euros. The naked eye system, including camera head and recording unit, SSDs and control and a carrying box and everything, is 9,500. 9,500, yes.
Any more questions?
So after that, there's no more question.
Yeah. Done.
I'm sorry. Actually, it's pretty affordable. I can give you my sales talk once you come down to my booth. So.
Oh, we've got one. We've got a taker back here. Get in there.
I'm just curious, the camera's tiny, but the recording box is not. How are VR filmmakers dealing with that in ways that they can hide it? And because as we know, with post-production, it takes us a long time to have to kind of paint that stuff out. So how have you seen people deal with it?
Well, it's usually you have a spot, you know, where you have to mount the camera, and that's where they put it. We have cable looms. The standard cable loom is 3 meters, but there's also looms up to 8 meters. So in a car environment or so, you have enough space to actually put it far away. The box is, it might look a little bit big, but it's actually very production proven. It's V-mount battery powered. It's everything integrated. You can cover it up if you don't need it. It's black completely. So it's in the museum. We had lots of situations when we were actually on a dolly moving, and there were lots of reflections from these. I don't know how to say it in English, but these vitrinen, these glass covers of objects and so on. And there's reflections everywhere, when you have a static shot, you just rotoscope it out. But when you have a moving shot, and the reflections come and go, and that's really difficult. But with a complete black system, it's actually pretty manageable. It weighs 3.5 to 4 kilos, and it has been flown on drones also. So there are trade-offs. It's like we're recording 700 megabytes a second in data, which is great for post-production, but you cannot store that on an SD card. You have to put it somewhere, and that's why we have that. In the case of Animal Logic, that's really interesting, and if you happen to go to SIGGRAPH, I cordially invite you to come to that talk. They're showing great stuff because they did to the system, they actually used the size of the box for different stuff. They put color charts on it, like neutral stuff for reflection and so on. So it's actually also good for something, the box. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay, 2 days. How are you feeling? Halfway. Just halfway. This is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. I'd just like to mention that tomorrow's a work day. We start at 9:30, not 10 o'clock. Okay, so see you here at 9:30 tomorrow. And don't forget the Women in VR photo shoot now.